Welcome to our first Lunch and Learn session in this year's Teacher-Bordered Classroom series from the Educational Service Center of Northeast Ohio. I'm Stephanie DeMichael, and I have spent 24 years developing new ways to do old things, and the last 18 months supporting teachers as they shouldered that task as well. All of the information that I mentioned today will be available via a Wakelet board that I've curated, and you'll see that link below. Also, I should take the opportunity to let you know that I offer free virtual coaching sessions and office hours. So use that Linktree link to get in touch with me after today. Let's get started. It has been 18 months of uncertainty in life, in education, in everything. It has challenged us, but that's what learning is supposed to do. It's supposed to challenge us and make us better. And so in addition to supporting teachers, I've also been researching these questions. What worked? What didn't? And most importantly, what did we learn to do better moving forward? And here's what I've heard. More teachers want to embrace blended learning. Ironically, however, there's quite a bit of confusion as to what blended learning actually is. Blended learning is not simply having laptops or devices or Chromebooks in the classroom. Blended learning is not simply a lesson posted to your website or LMS. Blended learning is not simply moving students through stations, although station rotation is a sub-model of blended learning, and we'll discuss that at a future Lunch and Learn. But simply, what is blended learning? And there, again, a lot of confusion about it, but according to the Christensen Institute, which is a nonpartisan think tank, here is the simplest definition of blended learning that I can find. Blended learning involves leveraging the internet, meaning some learning is done online, not all, to afford each student a more personalized learning experience, both at home and in school, including increased student control over the time, place, path, and or the pace of learning. So this last part is key, and it's a natural and logical outcome of those first two parts. I like to think of blended learning as a smoothie. Since we're going to go with the blended metaphor, where instead of separate ingredients, like if you look at your lesson plan, it's divided into distinct separate ingredients. Bell ringer for this amount of time, direct instruction for this amount of time, cooperative learning, exit ticket. Blended learning is a smoothie where instead of all of these separate ingredients, we have a very healthy, balanced mix of online and offline activities, both general and personalized learning, and both teachers and students contributing to the learning process. So it's not a one-way street. Because when you have a one-way street, you have this. Blended learning is the antithesis of direct instruction, because delivering information via lecture for 40 minutes has a terribly small return on investment for our students. It fails to engage them. It fails to allow them the opportunity to be participants in their own learning. It fails to support an attempt at agency. There's this saying, I don't know to whom to give credit for it, but it's whoever's doing the talking is doing the learning. So we have to ask ourselves, who's doing the learning in our classrooms? All right, but let's return to our definition of blended learning and its three key components. Leveraging the internet, which means using the technology available to explore, assess, create. Affording each student a personalized learning experience, taking into account each student's preferred learning style, personal needs, and tailoring that learning experience. And finally, increasing student control. Learning happens anywhere, anytime, and the teacher gets to act as a coach and a facilitator, a little guide on the side, which is what we're supposed to be doing anyway. Okay, yes, I have a Schitt's Creek obsession, if you can't tell. Now, admittedly, blended learning can be perceived to be very complex and very time-consuming to front load. However, I promise you that today I'm here to help you just come up with a very easy, and a navigable, is that a word? Plan to workable plan for your classroom. So let's be Rosie the Riveter and let's do this. Okay, keeping in mind those three very simple aspects of blended learning: internet, personalized, student control. And then let's add in some very concrete ways to implement it. It's going to look something like this, okay? So you've got your internet, utilizing your learning management system to house all resources and directions, all right? Also, taking full advantage of extensions, apps, and tools to address the needs of all learners, including our gifted and talented, our special needs kiddos, and our English language learners. And then when we think about student control, let's simply offer a choice board. So whether it's a tic-tac-toe board, a learning menu, or a bingo board, we talk about these things for content, process, and product. So three very simple ways to think about getting started. If you use our learning management system, and I highly recommend you do, whether it is Google Classroom, Schoology, Blackboard, Canvas, etc., a learning management system allows teachers to basically lay everything out for students and to replicate yourself so that you get to spend less time repeating yourself and more time working with those who need you. The GIF or GIF, however you want to pronounce it, in this slide is an example of one of my Google Classrooms that I created for an online book study I did. Now, first and foremost, for every lesson, I provide a 1 to 2 minute screencast. No more. I really even try to keep it under a minute of myself, just sort of sharing directions and expectations for the lesson. I don't simply list directions to allow, because, I want to provide a number of resources also along the learning pathway, including but not limited to back channel chats, adaptive software like iXL or Reddit, no Red Ink, Khan Academy, links to primary sources, YouTube playlists, awesome. Puzzle videos for learning and assessment, Flipgrid to capture student thinking, a virtual help desk, a spot for frequently asked questions, Google Forms for check-ins, collaborative note-taking, self and peer assessments, and places for students to show what they know. Simply using an LMS to the fullest of its capabilities, using the question and comment feature, is a doable way to get started with blended learning. Okay, now when we talk about our kiddos, one size all learning fails to fit all sizes, as we know. So in order to meet the needs of all learners, we need to think about ways to tailor the lessons. And the easiest way to do this, the easiest way to get started, is just to simply take your lesson plan for the day, okay? Look at it and then think, okay, how can I make a few adjustments to this for gifted and talented students, a few adjustments to this same lesson plan for special needs, and a few adjustments maybe for my English language learners. And then we set about doing that. And by the way, assigning differentiated assignments to individual students is super easy in Google Classroom, and I do have that in the Wakelet board, a brief video on how to do that if you're unclear as to how to do that. So again, using the technology to make things easier. Okay, so you've got your lesson plan and you're looking at it. So you think about your gifted and talented students. You ask yourself, if we had more time in the day or the year, what special things could I do with this lesson or unit? And then offer those extension activities to your gifted and talented. And then with your special needs kids and your ELL kiddos, there are tons of tools, extensions, and apps designed with accessibility in mind, including but not limited to voice typing in Google Docs, using Google Translate in all of the Google Workspace apps and YouTube videos, Lexend fonts, closed captions in YouTube videos, in Google Meet and slides presentations. And in case you want to explore this a little bit further, I've included a link in our Wakelet board to a great YouTube video by Stephanie Howell. And that way you can kind of get into that and dig a little deeper and think about how to make that one lesson, just that one simple lesson, slightly tailored to kiddos who with special needs or special learning styles, and that way you've personalized it. Now, lots of times, okay, let's go back now to the idea of choice. When we think of a choice board, we think of a choice board as a way for students to show what they know after learning, but there are all kinds of different types of choice boards that can be an option during learning as well. So let's take a look at a few examples in the Wakelet board. Here's a this or that choice board that Holly Metcher came up with. And you can see that as students are learning, as they're exploring, as they're reading, as they're connecting, as they're creating awesome parts of a lesson plan, she offers her students, based on their learning preferences or styles, the choice to either read something or watch a video or read an epic article or a Newsella article. So, or to create an infographic or a video. So you're giving students choice in the entire idea, and this engages them and this empowers them. So in terms of the content in your lesson plan, you can create a choice board that way. You can also create a choice board for the process of learning. And Shaylin Farnsworth has this great example here of a science classroom where students are exploring and learning about the periodic table. And the directions on the side provide the learning goal and the expectations, but here in this choice board, it provides the what, but again, allows students to own the how, and then it's done. And again, you can dig in these any way you want. Finally, here is a simple choice board that I had designed based on something created by Casey Bell from Shake Up Learning. I worked with a 5th grade language arts teacher. The kiddos had the center square is the non-negotiable. They had written a persuasive essay, and then we were both talking about, well, how could we extend it? How could we go a step beyond and get students to really have fun with this idea? So the center square was the non-negotiable, and then they could connect horizontally, diagonally, or vertically to do something like create a website or a comic strip or a podcast, all kinds of options there. All right, so let's get back to our slides here. So again, we've talked about the idea of using an LMS. That's, using it robustly and not just as a website is a way to do your blended learning well. Customizing your lesson plan, using the tools available, and then finally offering some choice in learning. It's time for us to let go. We can only create teacher-boarded classrooms if we give up our fear that learning is going to happen. Learning won't happen unless we control it. It's time to let go. If we have learned anything in the last 18 months, it's that we have zero control. So let's extend that to our teaching as well. Allow students to explore and to be very present part of their own learning. The sky will not fall on the heads of our little free-range hens, I promise. It's just time to let go. Blended learning allows you to do that. And because this is a lunch and learn, and because I was going with that smoothie metaphor, I always like to share out lunch ideas with our lunch and learn. And this one is a lunch idea that's healthy and easy, and it's a PB&J smoothie recipe for those days when you only have time to drink your lunch. And it is in the Wakelet board as well. So check it out and let me know how you like it. Finally, again, if you need anything at all, the first link will connect you with all of my socials, so feel free to reach out at any time. And the second link connects you to my Wakelet board with links to things that we discussed today. I am Stephanie DeMichael. It has been an absolute pleasure to be here with you for this week's Lunch and Learn. Good luck with your teacher-boarded classroom, and see you next time.